Hello and good evening, and welcome to the seventh episode of This Mumma Runs podcast. I'm Erin, the host of This Mumma Runs podcast, and tonight, Matthew, tonight I have two of the race directors from Mud Crew events, Andrew Ferguson and Stephens, coming on to talk to me about a little event they host down in Cornwall every year, and you've got the option of 50 miles or 100 miles on the Cornish coastpath in the pits of winter, and it's called Arc of Attrition. So I've managed to get these two on to talk to me. Let's see if they can scare the shit out of me any more than it already is in regards to this event. This is one of the biggest races that I am going to be taking on this far. I mean, I've ran ultras in the Lake District, but there's something different about running a race on the Cornish coast path with sheer drops, to the side of you than there is running on, I don't know, a mountain in the Lake District. So that's a full-on nervous laugh. Let's see. Let's see what they have to say. I'm really excited to talk to them. See what they have to say, see how they've managed to come up with this event, where it has come from, how they've managed to grow this event from what it was back in 2016 when they kicked it off to, well, they've just recently signed it over to UTMB. So, I mean, big steps, and I'm really looking forward to talking to them. So let's get them on. Jane, Andy, thanks a million for coming on and joining me tonight on this Mumma Runs podcast to talk about all things Arc of Attrition.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too, Andy. You too.
First thing, don't call me Andy. Everybody calls me Fergy.
Fergy, apologies.
That's got you back for the Scottish thing.
Okay, let me just tell everybody that's listening. Just I was talking to Andy there, Fergie, before I started recording, and he thought I was Scottish. So, so go forward, Andy. No, it's really good of you to come and join me tonight and talk about Arc of Attrition and what people should be expecting come January. So let's get things. let's start talking. Right. In regards to the name, how did you even come up with the name Arc of Attrition? Obviously, I know what attrition means, but
that's definitely one for Ferg, because that was before my time.
Before your time, yeah. No, I came up with the name. It was really because you're doing an arc of Cornwall. So you're starting on one coast and you're doing a sweeping arc right around Land's End, and it starts really gnarly. It's got a little bit of ungnarly stuff in the middle, and then as you go around Land's End, it gets gnarly again, and finishes gnarly as well. So it is literally, and it can be in the winter, a war of attrition. So that was sort of how the name came about. It just sort of beats you up as you go along, and because it's coastal and you're different headlands all the time. You know, the wind can hit you and the rain can hit you from one angle, and then 2 minutes later it's hitting you from another angle. So that's really how the name attrition came around as well, sort of that whole sweeping arc of attrition, and how the elements, if it's a bad weather year, can really wear you down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great name. I mean, well, it's going to be a test, I can imagine, and especially with the constant up and down of the coast path as well. And if you have I mean, I know the last 2 years you have had spring-like weather. So I have a really bad feeling that this year is going to be.
Yeah, the chances
it's due. It's definitely due, isn't it?
It's due, definitely, Jane. My God. Just right, let's cross our fingers and hope it's not next year. Next year when I'm down there. God. But no, it's a great name, and I can imagine. I know the DNF rate in the past has been quite high, and that's probably attributed to it. Andy, you're sitting, and sorry, Ferg, sorry, you're sitting smiling at the DNF rate because I know you love a good DNF rate.
I do like a good DNF
Yeah,
rate.
he does. I remember my very first arc, which would have been 2016. That was a really, really bad weather year. And it was the year that we had 76% DNF.
78% DNF.
78 DNF.
Yeah.
And it was like I say, it was my first arc. And I was at the old race headquarters, which used to be at the Blue Bar down on the beach at Porthtowan. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was there on my own. And I went to go outside to have a look, but I couldn't open the door because of the storm. And I do remember standing there thinking, what are we doing? What we do? We've got people out there running in this. And then Ferg rang me in a bit of a flap because he thought nobody would finish.
Yeah.
And then it was a really, really high DNF rate, but it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. But
it's a good test.
It can be horrific weather, and it was that year. I think that was the worst, wasn't it, Ferg?
It was the worst, yeah. That was a lot smaller numbers then to deal with. So could be interesting. Could be interesting.
Could be interesting this year, especially with the old UTMB takeover.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How many people are we looking at starting on the 50? Well, let's go for the 50 because obviously that's the one I'm running. But I'm interested to know about the 100 as well.
In the 100, I think the numbers are around about 700 in two waves. So about, I think on the day, less like the 15-20% that usually don't turn up on the day.
Mm-hmm.
Round about probably about 285, 300 starters in each wave on the 100. There'll be two waves on the 100.
Yeah.
And down at the lovely Minack Theatre, there's going to be one wave, so you all go off at the same time.
And okay, so what time will we all be setting off at?
You'll be setting off at 8:30.
Okay, amazing. So we have to
8:30 in the morning. So depending on your UTMB index is where you'll be standing on the steps. So
okay. Is that the way they're going to work it?
That's kind of the way they're going to work it. Yeah. So yes, if you're lower down on the UTMB index, the lactic in your legs will be even more by the time you get to get out the theatre. So.
But similar number on the 50 as to the 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
So same number of entries, just depends on the DNS rate, but we usually expect about 15%. So, but similar number, but all in one wave. And then for the 25 mile, is it 900?
900 with
900
three
with
wave starts.
Three wave starts.
And where's the 25 starting from?
From an undisclosed location south of St Ives at the moment. The reason for that is that it's private land and we don't want people training from the start. But it's Land's End side of St Ives. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough. And is the 25 going to follow along the 50 route as well? So will the fast 25 milers be kind of hitting the slower 50 milers the way the slower 50 milers would, or the faster 50 milers would hit like the slower 100 milers?
Yeah, that everybody will converge at some point, but we've kind of, the timings are so everybody will be pretty spread out by then, and the 25 milers are not too far out of the mean streets of St Ives, so they'll be able to pile right through St Ives at whatever pace they want. So
very good.
There's some
all of the routes follow each other. So you know, it's one route, and you're all on bits of it at the same time, all with the same finish.
Very good, very good. So will the 25ers won't finish at Porthtowan?
Yeah.
Well, they'll finish
same
at
finish.
Right.
We've got one finish line.
Yeah.
Very good.
Everybody's bus to the start. So whatever distance they're doing, you all get on a bus at Porthtowan, and you're all bus to the start. So
Wow.
whatever distance you're on, all 14 buses, I think, from memory, something like that.
My God, that must take a fair bit of organization, guys.
Yeah.
Credit to you. Credit to you. Amazing. Okay. So, like, what does it take for you to put on an event such as the Arc? I mean, I can imagine now with UTMB obviously taking over, that's going to alleviate a lot of the stress and pressure for you. But in the past, going from
Sorry, did I laugh?
Oh gee, oh bless you. I can imagine. But like it has grown so much. I mean, I've been watching YouTube videos on it. It's become a bit of an obsession, this race for me. And like you started small. What I think was 50 or something that you started with.
53 on the first one.
53 on the very first
53, and now, like, my God. So how do you event on? Because I know you like to call it an event, Ferg. It's not a race.
Yeah, no,
It's an event.
Yeah, it's an event. We thought it, yeah, we kind of had it. This is actually almost like a new race because it's so much more involved this year. It's bigger. There's more checkpoints. There's different ways of doing things under the UTMB banner. So for us, it's actually a lot more work this year.
Right.
A lot more work and a lot more organization and detail. So yes, we thought it might be a little bit easier for us, but it's pretty full on at the moment.
Pretty full on. And we were talking about it, and I think people think that the biggest change for us is the number of competitors. But actually, for us, we've been running the race Ferg and Andy have been running the race for 10 years, and I've been with them for 9. And we've grown every year. Mm-hmm. And what we've always done is pretty much the same. We've just done it for more people. So actually, the more runners isn't the biggest challenge. This is how I look at it. I don't see it as the biggest challenge because we're doing what we've always done. We just have to do it for more people. But then you add into that the way that things are a little bit different with UTMB, and we've had to learn how to do things differently and to step away from we used to do it this way. There's no right or wrong, but there's differences. And there are things that UTMB do across all of their events to make them a UTMB event. And we just have to learn what they are and adapt the way we deal with things and the way that we organize things, which is, it's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a learning curve.
Yeah, definitely.
So Jane, how did you come? So you said Ferg and Andy, or Ferg, and I can't remember the other.
Andy's
so Andy. So we got Fergy, then we've got Andy Trudgeon. So Andy and Fergy were the race directors at Mud Crew, which is the company that used to organise the Arc and still organises the Rat. And we used to organise a few other races in the meantime.
How did you come into it then, Jane?
Yeah, well, they were looking for a third person to come into the company, and they knew that I was. So this would have been in the spring of 2015, and they knew that I was a police officer for 30 years, and they knew I was coming up to my retirement in the December of that year. Yeah. And I think I'd made some comment to both of them at a race about, I'm retiring, but I'm only 48 and I don't know what I want to do. So they thought, I know what you want to do. You want to become the third race director for Mud Crew. And they asked me in 2015, and I race directed with them at the 2015 Rat, the August event. Yeah. And that was my first event. And then then I was on board for the summer and the winter, and then we had my first arc in the January.
Wow.
So
Have you ran the route?
Not all of it. I knew them because I'd run the 32 miler in the August event. I'd taken part in the 50k, and I'd entered to take part in the 100k in 2015. But I never took part because I was a race director. And then for me, when I ran the Black Rat, I think I'd only run 2 marathons, and that was my first ultra. So I didn't, I was never ever going to run 100 miles then. So it hadn't even been on my radar. I haven't done that 100 mile. I've done 100 milers since. And I've done, I've done the classic quarter a couple of times. So I've done the middle bit of the arc. I've done different events of other people's that have been different parts of the arc. But I've never run the route. No.
Would you ever run the route?
I'd love to run the route. I don't know if I'd be timed out.
Well,
so I don't know.
Let's talk about cut-off times.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ferg, have you ever ran the route?
Me? No, because I've always been a race director, not during the actual race. I've run a similar route in another 100 miler, but that was a summer event. Back many moons ago, probably 15 years ago. It was an endurance life event called the UTSW, which followed most of the same route. Just started in Porthleven and finished in Watergate Bay, the other side of Newquay. But that was a completely different. That was a summer event with no mud and a lot of light rather than a lot of darkness. So, but no, I don't know. As I'm getting older and slower, I'm a bit like Jane. I'd probably get timed out as well. But,
except he's older than me. I'm just going to say that. But I'm slower than him, so he makes up for it that way.
Oh, amusing. Right, chatting of cut-offs. How tight are the cut-offs? How tight are the cut-offs for the 50 and the 100? I'm assuming there'll be no cut-offs on the 25.
No, there are cut-offs on the 25.
Is there cut-offs on the 25? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cut-offs at all the checkpoints. Yeah.
How many checkpoints is going to be on the 25?
On the 25, let me just think. There's 1, 2.
Two for the 25.
Two for the 25. Yeah.
Okay. And for the 50. No, I know what the cut-offs are. And
you know what the cut-offs are?
I know what the cut-offs are. I've memorized everything on that UTMB website.
I think you'll be fine. What have you done before? I'm sure you've done. What races have you finished before?
Every race I've done, I've finished.
Every race you've done.
Every race I've done, I've finished. I've done the lap. I done the lap this year at the Lake District. And Maverick. I'm not sure if you know of Maverick races.
I know.
Oh, do you?
We know a lot about Maverick races.
Absolutely fantastic races. So they had their Lake District race just recently. So I used that race as a training run. I came in quite all right on it. And
you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's based on sort of 22-minute miling over the distance, but if you get the just don't hang around St Ives checkpoint very long. That's what I would say as a tip. People tend to think, I've seen it a few times where people get to St Ives and they think, right, I've cracked it now, I've only got 20 odd to go, and it's the last 20 odd miles is an easier section, very runnable until about the last 3 or 4 miles. But people, once you get through the dunes, and the dunes of Doom are runnable, but you could get lost, especially in the dark. I go through them now, and I still get lost. I never seem to take the same route through them.
But Ferg, you get lost in your kitchen, so you're the wrong person to talk about getting lost.
I did get lost
Oh.
several times at the weekend. But yeah, no, I think a big tip would be not to hang around St Ives checkpoint very long. You see people sit down and change this and change that and think they've done it. But there's a cutoff at Godrevy, and it does take longer to get to Godrevy than people think.
Than you think.
Yeah, especially if you start wandering around the dunes in the dark, looking for the right way. So yeah, that would be my tip, is not to hang around St Ives too long.
It's not a sit down buffet.
It's not a sit down buffet. No.
Get in and get the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, my coach gave me. He said that to me when he trained me for the lap, and he's training me for this now. And he said, and it will stay with me forever. Don't fuck about at the aid stations, Erin. Was literally his words to me.
Yeah.
No, that is
all right.
That's my biggest tip for anybody ever, is not to fuck about at the aid stations.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's not a sit down buffet. Get it and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, chatting of aid stations, and the community of archangels.
Oh,
Jane,
they're lovely.
They're brilliant. Is for you. I can't wait to meet them and see them. And
they've been obviously a huge part of the race from day one, and they've got their own sort of legs now. They're their own thing that just grows every year, and we're absolutely thrilled that they've come with us on the UTMB journey. They've come, no issues at all. Plus extras. I run the volunteer sign up program. And I've just looked at it tonight, and we've just hit the 300 mark for volunteers.
Wow.
Which was our aim, and it's still open. We're still, taking more, which will be brilliant.
Yeah.
And we've got the people that we've always had, and we've got a lot of new people who've come on board, and they've heard about us from UTS. There's quite a lot of them that I met at UTS, and they're coming down. So it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We're just thrilled that they're still with us. And the four main aid stations, so Porthleven, Penzance, Land's End, and St Ives, have got the four. They're now captains. They were our checkpoint managers. They're now the aid station captains. They've got the four that we've had every year for certainly the last. My daughter is checkpoint manager at Porthleven, and she took over from me when we did the 50. I could no longer checkpoint manage because I was too busy at race headquarters, so she took it on, and she's now the captain there. And they've got their own teams. They've recruited people that they've had every year. They know who's doing what, and we're helping, and we're helping organize. And we've obviously got the other smaller aid stations now to deal with, but they just take a bit of a life of their own, really, and they tell us what they're going to do, which is brilliant.
Amazing. It's good that they can work together and not really have to not bother you and Ferg so much, but they've got a little thing of their own, and they know what to do.
And that's we've been able to do that still under UTMB. That there's certain things, as we said earlier, that are different. Basic things like the shopping and all of that is different because it's done in a certain way, but we're still able to give them autonomy at their aid stations and do what they need to do.
The 5 new aid stations we've got, they're all being managed, or all captains, by local experienced ultra runners, all of them. So they've got a deputy, and they're an experienced ultra runner. Most of them, from memory, are all Arc 100 finishers. I would say, running on road stations, and or certainly have taken part in the Arc. So they all know the race. There's no one in a captain capacity that doesn't know that race inside out. So there's a lot of experience out there.
So with the extra aid stations that UTMB are going to be putting on, does that take away, because I know you had flying angels who would have been there, does that take them out of it? So that will they become static angels now?
Most of them are Yeah, I've
Yeah.
joined the checkpoints, but because of the numbers, because the Flying Angels used to be like working out their vans with like, you know, boxes of crisps and just water and Coke and that sort of thing. But because of the extra numbers and the fact that we've got to put on these extra checkpoints for the World Series, yeah, they just like Mobile Angels wouldn't be able to cope. The same as the ballets, really. I don't know if you were ever aware of how the valets worked.
I know the valets would have ran you into the aid station.
Yeah,
So
there was a little bit of a personal service that as you come off the coast path into the station, into the checkpoint, you'd have a little personal valet ask after your well-being and see you in. But yeah, you would have to have about 60, 70 valleys at each checkpoint to do that now with the extra numbers. So some of those valets will become marshals, and some of those valets will become checkpoint staff, and vice versa.
So there won't be any valets.
No, there won't be no one running you in as such. But yeah, but. No, you'll see some marshals out there.
Yeah, there's still going to be
showing
marshals.
you the way. In the sort of more built up areas. So
yeah, that's good. That's a shame about the valets, because obviously following the race and watching videos and things like that, it was lovely to kind of watch people meet the runners come in and run them up to the aid station and chat to them whilst they were running them in. But that is a bit of a shame. But I know UTMB like to put on a good way-marked course. Is it going to be like that now, Ferg? I know the Arc of Attrition is very much an adventure, and you're not very. We have our acorns, and our acorns will guide the way.
It'll still be an adventure, don't you worry. Especially if the weather's bad. But yeah, there will be.
Is it going to be more marked out, or is it going to remain
It will
the same?
be, yeah, but not overmarked. So you'll still have the traditional acorn sort of signs, but there will be additional course size, and we've got a 25 team course marking team headed up by a guy called Toby Lowe, who knows every inch of that coast path because he used to maintain it for the National Trust. So he knows every inch of it. So he's heading up the course marking team, but there won't be markers every 10 meters, if you know what I mean. There'll be where needed.
Yeah.
There's miles of coast path where you can't go wrong, but there's also miles of coast path where you can. So,
in the dunes of doom there, Ferg.
Dunes of doom, yeah. And a lot of places before. So make sure you got your GPX.
Oh, the GPX has been downloaded and has been looked over umpteen times, and will be looked over umpteen times.
Wait for the final one, because large chunks of the coast path can fall into the sea between now and January, which has happened many times. So yeah, just fingers crossed there's no diversions, because one year we had to put in I think it was a 4 mile diversion, so it ended up about 106 miles. So hope no bits fall into the sea, because that always causes nightmares. So
just a bit. me too. So in regards to that, then, the terrain on the coast path, what are people to expect in regards to the terrain underfoot? If it's a lovely day, it's going to be a lovely run. But I know you've spoke previously about 2016 being the year.
Yeah, that was
if you went out there this weekend, it would have been full of mud. And it's weird with the coast path because it drains quite quickly. So if you do have a dry week leading up to it, then it can be quite dry underfoot. But if it's wet, then you'll know about it. And your feet could literally be in water for 90 miles of it, sort of thing. So it can be, trench foot is a
nice bit of trench foot.
But keeping your feet dry can be a major factor, but you just don't know until to the day. You know, last year, a couple of weeks before last year, it was you know, just complete mud, but it dried up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on the day it was spring-like, and you could have almost done it in road shoes.
So I'm assuming there's going to be like medics at every main aid station to help, obviously.
We've got a very experienced team of medics coming down. We won't say too much about that because it's a new company, but we've got very experienced medics coming down, which will be, they cover the biggest events in the UK.
Wow.
So they'll be part of our team.
Excellent. In regards to the navigation, when will we be getting like the final? Because I know the event schedule has went live now on the UTMB website. We all had our emails. I think it was last week we got them.
Yeah.
So when will we be getting like the final emails or the final GPX? Yeah.
I think December for the final. The race guide, I think, is going. I think that you're getting that before Christmas, before Christmas.
Yeah.
And
happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Here's your GPX.
Yeah.
The GPX might be later because it just depends what happens with the coastpath between now and then. So I think the GPX, it should be on the guide.
Yeah, it'll be on the guide, and then if there's any major
change,
changes, you'll be notified of that. And it will, we'll make sure that it doesn't get lost in a load of emails. If there's major changes for any reason to the GPX, you'll be informed. You'll know.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be good to go in December. And then if there's any additions, it's the same with everything. If there's any last minute changes, we'll make sure you know.
Excellent. Oh, it's very exciting.
Most of yours is in the daylight. A lot of it.
I know. Part of me is a little bit gutted, like, because I think to myself, should I just went for the 100 and sacked the 50 off and just went full 100? But nah, he's
always next year.
Always next
2026.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already already
good.
there. Absolutely. Is there any elite starters that we would know of that will be starting on the 50 or the 100?
There's a list on the website. There's one. There are. There are. I won't name them.
Is Mark Derbyshire back this year?
Mark is back this year, yes.
Amazing. I can't wait to see him smash that record.
Yeah, Mark is back.
So, amazing.
Yeah. And
is he gonna? He's on the 100, obviously.
He's on the 100, And we've got John Alban on the 50k as well, which is quite a coup. So I'm wondering what time he's going to make of that course. So there's a few very fast,
2 hours.
few very fast runners on the 50k. Yeah.
Excellent.
So,
Oh, that's going to be amazing dot watching.
Yeah. It's
definitely
going to be really, really good.
Definitely.
If we've got time to dot watch. I hope we have.
Obviously, you still have there's trackers and everything, and you still be keeping eyes on the trackers and things like that. So that's really good. One question that I am interested in: female percentages on the start line. Do you know the percentage of female starters on the 50 and the 100? Because that's something.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And no, I don't know, because believe it or not, I don't mean we're not told the entries. Of course we are. But before, we could have given you that figure. I could have clicked the fingers or pressed a button and told you. But we don't have as much access to it as easily as that. So I don't know. But I'm going to put it in our chat to find out, because it would be a very interesting question to get an answer to. Yeah.
Because I know, female starters, it's not the percentage is so low. I was looking at I know UTS are doing a drive to get females on the start line of the 100K and the 100 miler.
Yeah.
And it's something that I would be quite interested in, because ultra running for women, it's not something that women tend to do. I don't know. But yeah, that subject for me is very interesting, because
Yeah.
I would like to see I would like to see more women on the start line of bigger, harder races.
Definitely. Yeah.
They do in Cornwall. There's an awful lot of female ultra runners in Cornwall. I would say it's probably a massive amount of rolling her eyes there. Why are you rolling your eyes, Jane?
I'm not rolling my eyes. No, I'm looking at I'm trying to open the list of entries.
Yeah.
But I can't open it, not the full list.
I think there's a massive percentage of ultra runners, female ultra runners.
Yeah.
Cornish, certainly. But I think there'll be more females in the Arc than there will be UTS. Certainly in the 100 and the 50, compared with what and the 100 mile, because the 100 mile UTS is a mountainous beast, whereas the Arc bowling, it's not so remote. It's I would say the percentage will be higher in the Arc for sure.
In the Arc. That statistic for me would be very interesting to see after. Definitely.
Yeah, you're just scouting out the opposition, aren't you? That's all you're doing.
Yeah. Maybe. Shush. Okay. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So any particular section on the 50 people that are going down to Recce? Because I know now this time between October and probably end of December, a lot of people are going to be going down to Recce. I know of a couple of people that have already been down Recce, and but do you have a particular section that you would suggest would be the best to Recce on the 50 or the 100 miler?
Yeah, I always say Land's End to St Ives, because that's got capacity. It's got capacity to go wrong, because there's lots of bridleways and stuff that go inland off the actual coast path. And if they're doing the 100, it looks a whole world of difference in the dark. But on the 50 itself, that would certainly be a section. I would say the dunes, definitely.
Yeah.
Dunes. It's weird, the dunes. You'll probably get there and you go, oh, I don't know what, but you can get lost, and you probably will. But the GPX will obviously help. I go through there without a GPX because I think I know it and I get lost. So as long as you've got the GPX, you should be fine. But there's a bridge one end of it, and if you've just got to find that bridge, because it's the only crossing of the river. So if you don't find that bridge, you can waste a lot of time. So whatever you do, if you come down to Recce, do the dunes and seek the little bridge before what will be our checkpoint at the Rockpool Lula pub, which will be our fan and spectator zone for the race. So
okay, so there's going to be a spectator zone.
Spectator zone, yeah. So
at Godrevy.
At Godrevy. So every runner will go through Godrevy, and we've got plenty. You can spectate. There's loads of parking. It's quiet. It's in the middle of. There's no houses around, so you can make a noise, and anybody spectating can come and have food. They can have a beer. They can have coffee, all day, and all into the evening. That will be open. So it's a great place to. More details will come out in the runner's guide, but it's a great place to. It'll be a great place to hang out for anybody watching. It'll be the best place, and that's where we'd like spectators to congregate if possible, because it's got the space, whereas you're not clogging any country lanes and upsetting the neighbours, and so there'll be more details on that coming out.
That's really good. That has to be really good for the Cornish economy as well at that time of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that we've always been really passionate about. Is we're bringing the event to Cornwall, but we want to bring people to Cornwall, and we want people to come back to Cornwall at other times, but also to be able to put something back into the community and into the economy at a quiet time. the Airbnbs, the hotels, you know, and during recce times, the Airbnbs and the hotels and the B&Bs, people come down and, you know, we want them to come to Cornwall. We want them to see Cornwall at its best, enjoy it. You know, it's a bit like people going to Scotland for you. Oh, no. You know, it's highlighting Cornwall to people, and you know,
Yeah,
we love it. It's a fabulous place to be. So
yeah,
you know, it's
that's
all part
amazing.
of that.
So how has the community, Cornwall, obviously it must be a massive event in Cornwall at this time of the year. So how has the community taken to it? Oh, like I say, it's a good thing for the economy. Are they behind you? Do you
Yeah.
get any opposition from people or?
I wouldn't say
No, because I think
opposition. Yeah, there've been times in the past where, as the event has grown, we have seen there are certain villages that it's too, you know, it's too small for crew cars to go to, for example. So we've over the years we've evolved that, and we've changed. Right, okay, you used to be able to go to a certain place, and now you can't because there's too many people. So we're aware of that. Try and stop any, you know, mitigate it before any complaints come in.
Yeah,
And I think people have seen us do that and realised that we are responsible and that we do love the area and that we think about that before it becomes a problem. So I think that's been
amazing.
very helpful for us. You
yeah,
know, so
anywhere we've had a problem in the past, we've kind of nipped it in the bud straight away, because the last thing you want to do is upset any of the community. And although we love the trails and we love running, you know, if you're an 85-year-old pensioner in a little cottage and you suddenly got 500 headlights going through there in the middle of the
Yeah,
night, you might not be so happy about it, and the
yeah,
noise. It's just being respectful, really. So we just try and keep people away and into the areas where they're not going to upset anybody. So hopefully, yeah. But the actual community as a whole has been, you know, the trail and ultra community in Cornwall it's just huge. It's, you know, it's almost like the lake. It's like you know, I'd compare it with like the Lake District for that sort of community.
yeah.
It's massive, and it's a lifestyle thing. You know, it's not just
Oh,
something.
absolutely.
Not something you do on a Sunday, Sunday morning. It's people live and breathe it 7 days a week. You know,
Yeah,
it's that sort of. I think it's the outdoor sort of lifestyle that you get in Cornwall with the surfing and everything else. You know, it's
absolutely.
yeah,
It is a way of life. It
yeah,
consumes your soul.
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So in regards to the spectator section
Zone,
zone. Thank you, Ferg. Thank you. Yes.
fan
Um,
zone.
the fan zone is UTMB. So have you got shops? Have you got cafes coming on board, or is UTMB putting on like coffee vans or beer vans or whatever else, or is it going to be a community thing? Have you incorporated local businesses into it in the fan zone?
In the fan zone, that will be run by the local business, who would normally be very quiet there. So
Yeah,
it's a big pub on the beach, big bar pub, who would
excellent.
normally who've got like a function area. We'll be taking over the function area as the actual checkpoint, but the pub and the bar will operate, and the coffee will all operate as their business. So it'll be divided into two. The function room will be ours, and the pub will still operate as normal, but with a huge car park and a big National Trust car park where people can park. And hopefully they're putting on loads of extra staff, and they're right behind it. And and it'll be branded, and there'll be bells and all sorts, and hopefully there'll be a fantastic area. We got a fantastic crew there, very experienced checkpoint crew. So yeah, it's going to be great. It'll be a really great place to congregate. So
It is going to be amazing. Jane, can I ask in regards to the aid stations? So what are runners to expect whenever they go in, especially at the 4 main aid stations?
Yeah, so the 4 main aid stations, we're sort of governed to a degree by UTMB. They have,
Yeah.
you know, there are certain stations where it'll just be cold drinks and snacks. There are certain stations where it'll be cold and hot drinks and snacks. But our 4 main aid stations will be pretty much how we used to
They
run
were.
them.
Yeah.
So there will be at least 2, and in some cases 3 hot food options at each of them, along with the usual checkpoint fare. So there'll be hot and cold drinks at all of them. There'll be soup, there'll be hot food, there'll be pasta, there'll be chips, there'll be bacon rolls, pizza.
So it
know.
is a fucking sit-down buffet then, Jane?
Yeah, but you're not allowed to sit down and have it. You have to carry it. If you want it to be a sit-down 3-course meal, you can have a sit-down 3-course meal, but I really wouldn't. But yeah,
not something you suggest.
No, you know, we're aware that it could be very cold and very wet, and we want people to, without taking too much time to do it, because our crew will be on it and they'll be dealing with people quickly. But if you need something hot to eat or drink, you will get it at the 4 aid stations, and there'll be other things at the other ones as well.
Rumour has it there'll be one aid station with some very good local Cornish pasties to take away.
Yeah, there'll be takeaway pasties.
So
takeaway pasties.
Takeaway pasties. Yeah.
I mean, I may have to take a Cornish pasty with me.
Yeah. They squash nice and flat. You save it for later.
Lovely. Stick it in the hydration vest.
Oh yeah.
Delicious. And cold pizza as well.
Yeah. That'll all be as it always was. We'll be putting that on.
Yes. Sounds like it's going to be amazing. Right. I do need to ask. What was the decision, or why was the decision made to hand over to UTMB? Obviously, Arc of Attrition was a beast in its own right before. It sounds like it's going to be an amazing event this year. I mean, I won't know it any other way than in the previous years. But what made you decide to let UTMB come on board?
We've said this on other podcasts, but we've come to a sort of it came at a time where I think we'd taken it as far as we could take it, if you know what I mean. We we kind of work full time. We've got other interests, and it takes over your life for a massive, probably 6 months of the year. It takes over. We kind of had a break from it. We've gone down to only doing 2 events, and it's kind of the arc was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we'd taken it as far as we could get. And I'd like to go to big events all over the world, and I've been to many UTMB events, and I like all the bells and whistles of events. I do a lot of local stuff and low-key stuff as well, but I do like a big event. And I, as a legacy for when I'm gone, it's there now forever, hopefully.
Yeah.
And, just to be able to say, would we have done it in 5 years' time? Would we have done it in 10 years' time? 10 years' time, probably not. 5 years' time, possibly. But none of us are getting any younger, and there's other stuff we want to do besides spending half your evenings and organizing a race. And
we'd also we'd before UTMB approached us, because they approached us, we didn't approach them, and before they approached us, I can remember the 3 of us sat down before the 2024 arc, and we looked at it, and we had 1,500 people on the wait list. 1,500 people who we couldn't and weren't ever going to be able to give a place to in the arc in 2024. And we'd also we'd been looking at the Arc 25. Fergy had secured the location for the start of the Arc 25 again. Last summer, Fergy. It was well before the Arc took place. So we did the Arc in 2024, and Hayden from UTMB came and observed it and then went away again. And he then they approached us after the Arc. And we had all these conversations with the three of us. You know, I'm sure this will have been something that was discussed at length before we made any decisions.
Oh, of course.
And one of the big things that we were able to say was, well, if UTMB come on board, those 1,500 people that we disappointed, because we were getting emails constantly from those, not all of them, but from a lot of them saying, can I have a place? Is there room?
Please.
And we were having to say no. So one of the things for us was we could open it up to more people, which the three of us would probably not have, certainly not to this degree, we would not have been able to, because it needs something behind it to allow that to happen. And as Fergie said, we also said, right, okay, can we honestly, hand on heart, say that the three of us will be organising this race in, and I think we did give ourselves a 5-year target, and the three of us could not put our hand on our hearts and say that the Arc would still go ahead. So what are the options? The option we've taken, which is UTMB have collaborated with us and will take that event forward now for the future. The other option is we just carry on with it as it is and not grow it, and it would then possibly just die a death because we'd stop doing it one day, or we'd have to find somebody local who would come along and take it on. And we knew how difficult that would be, because lots of people who help us out at the Arc would often say, I'm glad it's you and not me. You know, so those were the decisions we had to make. And you know, we knew when we made the decision that we made that it wouldn't be everybody's ideal of a good decision, but for the sake of the Arc, we believe it was the right decision. We want the Arc to still be, you know, I'm probably not. My daughter will listen to this. I'm probably not going to have any grandchildren, but if I was, I'd like to be able to say, "Oh, look at the Arc of Attrition," you know, and and it still be going and have a say in, or have had a say in it somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, oh, it sounds very cheesy, doesn't it? Sorry.
No, not at all. God, you made the decision that was the right decision for you.
Yeah.
It was, you know, nobody else. I don't think anybody else could have done it justice either. You know, you look at UK race organisers, and they're all pretty small. Probably with the biggest player would be Centurion, who we're great friends with. And you know, they've got, but it's a different sort of market, and you know, the rest of the races will tend to be, you know, there's no real majors other than Lakeland, and there's not a massive, it's not a massive country for large races. Loads of absolutely saturated with smaller races, but there's not many big event races in the UK. You know, you can count them on one hand. But and this creates another. Although the Arc was a big race in everybody's want to do list, you know, 1,500. You know, it was just growing year on year. The wait list was insane. But now it will be a massive event with the opportunity for, you know, it's sold out. So there's still a, you know, it's sold out really quickly. So there's still an appetite for it. And I think the appetite's bigger. So, you know, and UTMB bring all the bells and whistles with the media and you know, everything that comes with it, that we could just never do. You know, we just haven't got the
capacity to do it, and we haven't. And you know, with the best will in the world, I don't think the three of us have the know-how of how to do that. You know, we probably reached our limit, I think, with what we could do.
Fair enough. Why do you think the Arc is so special, though? It is a special race. I mean, I cannot wait to get down there in January. I can't wait to go down at the end of November and recce the coastpath. But it's an obsession for people. This race is an obsession for people. And I don't know why it's an obsession for me, but it is. But why do you think it becomes such an obsession? Is it the terrain? Is it the weather and the terrain? It's obviously a test of yourself to see if you can actually physically push yourself to that limit. But why do you think that the Arc is such a special race?
I think it's just become iconic for some. It
It
just
has.
exploded, you know. It
Yeah.
just within the space of 2 years, it went from being a locals race, and then we started to get elites. I think with the sponsorship of, I think when Raid Light came on board, and then La Sportiva, and it started to attract elite runners, and we weren't going out and getting them; they were coming to us for places,
Yeah.
you know, which was great. And I think once the elites started to, you know, some of the names we've had, you know, you look at most of the best runners, ultra runners in the UK have now done the Arc, or a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think that just creates that sort of, oh, you know, people started to look up and go, oh, wow, they're doing that. They're doing that. Oh, they're doing that. So I think that just created its own iconicness, and it just grew from there. It just, within 2 years, it just exploded.
Yeah, it was quite a shock for us, wasn't it? The way it grew. It was, you know, it happened over a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And we've asked ourselves that question many times about what is it that, and it's like Fergie said, it was things like, yeah, the time of year, the weather, the DNF rate. The DNF rate became a bit of a thing, you know, and it wasn't anything that was made up. It was real, and it was, oh, the weather's going to be good this year, so everybody will finish. Oh, they've still got under 50% DNF or finish rate. So there was something about the whole event, and about the terrain, and about the amount of darkness. And Cornwall is a beautiful part of the world, and you know, there's not many races that, because the 100 miles of the Arc is the most continuous section of coastpath without ferry crossings. There's not that many sections that are like that. This was a point to point part of the Arc where you could do it without having to, you know, have assistance from outside if you so you needed something or someone to help you get round it, whereas you don't on the Arc. You can, you know, if you want to and you want to do it completely uncrewed and unsupported, you can start in Coverack and you can make your way around to Porthtowan, and you know, you haven't got to rely on somebody else to get you over part of that. So there was all this being talked about, and
I think the Archangels was a massive part of it as well.
Yeah.
The community down here, because people talk about it. It was like people talk down here. People just talk about the Arc all year round. You know, I go to parkrun virtually every week if I can, and the talk is always about the Arc. You know, people just look forward. It's just like they're planning it. You know, the people that have entered it and the people that are angels. And of course, we've lost. With the 50K, we've lost quite a few angels because they're going, oh,
running.
You know,
they all run it.
capable of 100 miles and 50 miles. So they've not done it, but they thought, oh, now it's down to sort of 25 miles, 30 miles, you know, oh, yeah, now we can have a go at it.
Now we can give it a crack. I love it.
So there's always that to consider as well, but we've still got 300 volunteers. So that shows you what the community is like, you know. So, but we've got, you know, we've lost a lot of people that would normally help out to the lesser distance, but they still volunteer. So it just shows how big the community is.
That's amazing. You have built something very, very special there, though. The three of you definitely have. Okay, I have a question in regards to who do you think is going to take the male? Who do you think is going to win the male and the female? Who's going to come first? Who's on the elite?
Oh,
I mean, if Mark's back here this year, my money's on him.
My money's on Mark for the 100.
My money would be on Mark. Yeah, my money would be on Mark.
You need to get a pool going on the side, Berg.
Yeah,
I'll chuck a five.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Yeah, I
haven't actually seen the entry list because Jane will probably have that because she has more to do with the entries than I do.
Yeah, I don't see the overall entry list. I mean, I can see the elite list on the website the same as anybody else. Whereas, you know, that's one of the things that we've had to get our heads around is we used to run the entry list, and you know, you could be sitting on, you know, in a cafe and you could have a look to see who's running the Arc, and it would be a 2-minute job, and you'd log into the entry system and we could look and you could see who'd entered since you last looked and this sort of thing. I think there is a way of doing it, but I haven't got my head around the UTMB system yet. So we can see the elite list, but as you know, that doesn't necessarily, it should be, the winners should come from those lists, but that's not always the way.
True.
So I would definitely, my money's on Mark for the 100.
Look at UTMB this year in Chamonix. That was you know, it's not always the elites that win.
No.
Unless you're Courtney to Walker, but with the names, it was a relatively unknown win come through this year. So who knows? There's the trouble that ultra running is in. I've been doing this a long time, but in recent years, ultra runners just get younger and younger. So you know, they just get younger and younger. What, you know, nobody used to run ultras till they were about 40, but now they're, you know, some of the best ultra runners out there are in the early 20s.
In their 20s.
Well, Poppy Collingwood is running the 50, and she's a superb runner. So, you know, and Julia, you know, they've got to be in with a chance, haven't they?
Excellent.
There's a few GB internationals sprinkled around there. So,
Oh,
so you're gonna have to get up those steps quick, all right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get up there every Wednesday night on that stepper in the gym.
Yeah. They're quite big steps, so set it quite high.
Okay. Lovely. Can't wait for my gym session this Wednesday. Thank you, Jade. Right, I am going to wind this up now, guys. Thanks a million for talking, but I do have a couple of questions that did come in, okay, from a couple of followers. Right, what's your favourite year? Because we all know it's 2016. With your 78% DNF, you're a bit sadistic there, aren't you, Ferg?
Yep. He likes that statistic. I can't remember which year was Mark Derbyshire's first year. That's my favourite year because Mark was for me, it was really key when Mark became, he's so much part of the Arc for me. And it was, you know, I didn't know him before. In fact, we didn't know him before, did we, Fergie?
No.
James Elson contacted us and said, "Oh, you've got this, you know, guy coming," and we were like, "Have we? Who's it?" And then we looked into him and saw how good he was. And Helen, his 70-year-old mum, is his crew, and she's
I did not know
superb.
that.
She is. I would say she is one of the, if not the best crew out there. She's incredible. She came down here that first year. I don't think she'd ever been to Cornwall, and she crewed him around his win on the Arc. So for me, it was that year because we got to meet Mark and Helen Derbyshire. So that was, again, I'm full of cheese. I'm cheesy, but that was really important for me. That made it really special.
Absolutely.
So Ferg can have his weather, and I'll have the celebrity.
Okay. If you had to choose a section of the route, what section would it be? A favourite part of the route? What would it be? From where to where?
So I would say the section coming in for me, I like between Mullion Cove and Porthleban. It's a rolling, runnable section, but you're quite high up on the cliff, and you've got narrow. It's just, and then you run across Low Bar Beach. That's a nice section, and it's because the first section on the 100 from cover is quite gnarly. It takes a lot of people by surprise. People don't tend to recce that section because it's the first part. They tend to recce the latter sections. So it catches a lot of people out how hard that first section, that first 10 miles is. But I would say the section for me between sort of Mullion Cove and Porthleven's a really nice section if you're down that way. But you won't recce that because you're on the other coast.
I love Godrevy around that area. I think that's beautiful part of the coast path. My friend did the 100 last year, so she came down and we recce'd bits of it, and we did Pendine Watch to Porthtowan, and we had I think it's about 30 miles. We had a fabulous day out, and it was lovely for me because it's not a bit that I normally do. So I had the GPX and she stayed in front of me and followed the signs, and I said, you're not allowed to look at your watch, because I thought if your watch goes wrong on the day, you need to be able to follow the course. And she got us through the dunes without getting us lost, and she just looked at the signs. But it was in daylight. But that was a beautiful area. That's lovely. Love that bit.
Okay, lovely. Oh, I'm very excited. I can't wait. All right, next question. This one comes from Gary. He's doing the 100. He's doing the 100 miles. I'm scared. How scared should I be? Scared. Tell him very scared.
Go on, Fergy.
Just don't. just respect it. That's what I would say. Respect it, because it has a habit of biting you in the ass. So respect it. Don't go off like a lunatic in the first section. I would take the first section relatively chilled. Try to get into. Depends how quick he is, but if he's just after a finish, depends what buckle he's after, because that's another major part of the arc, is what the buckles are still there. So if he's just after a silver finish, I would say he needs to be hitting Porthleven around about 6:15, 6:30, something like that, a good hour ahead of the cutoff, and not to hang around Porthleven too long. Because the next section after Porthleven is one of the easier sections to Penzance. It's a shorter section, and it's probably the most runnable section on the course. So yeah, I would, if he's hitting Porthleven an hour before cutoff, hour and a quarter before cutoff, he's kind of in the right place. And just be careful from Land's Ending, because when you're tired, you're all going to be doing it in the dark, or all the hundreds will be going through there in the dark, and you can just take a twisted ankle. It's so easy, it's so rocky, it's so technical around there, that you just don't overcook that section, because you're liable to come a cropper unless you're Mark Derbyshire, who skips over the rocks. But
like a gazelle.
Most people just trudge it out. Yeah, like a gazelle. But yeah, just trudge it out. But save something then, what you'll make up then in the last section. If you've still got something in the tank, you'll make it up in the more runnable last section from St Ives in. But the key is to get the St Ives, and but not to hang around the checkpoint too long.
Yeah, it's to get to St Ives in reasonably good shape with a bit of a buffer, and don't hang around.
Don't forget, it's not 100 miles; it's 103 miles. So yeah,
an extra 3 for good luck.
Yeah, and the largest hill on the course is on the end, so it's the last hill. So, we put that in there.
Lovely. Okay, this one comes from Neil. Any chance of getting Verdant to sponsor a finisher's beer? Because then
Verdant. Verdant Brewery at Penryn.
Penryn,
because he wants his beer. Never mind, like the sheer cliff drops or the possible torrential rain.
If he brings his Verdant beer to registration and gives it to me, I'll make sure it's waiting for him at the finish, chilled or otherwise, however he prefers it.
Well, I can give you an exclusive if you want, Aaron. An exclusive. There will be a local beer at the end to every finisher. So, but it won't be Verdant. It won't be Verdant, but it'll be brewed in Cornwall.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Can you tell us who it is, or are we keeping it hush hush?
Not finalised yet. Funny enough, I was emailing about 2 hours ago. So under negotiation. Everybody wants to get involved. Everybody wants to get involved.
Excellent. TBC, Ferg. TBC.
To be confirmed. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one more thing that you did mention, and then I will let you go. The buckles are still in place.
Yep.
And what is it for the 50s?
50s will have a
medal.
fantastic medal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic medal. Yeah. They're
Excellent.
really based. They're not unlike the medals from last year. So they're kind of based, but they're nicer again. So yeah. With that little UTMB touch. So yeah, you won't be disappointed.
Yeah,
about
you'll like the medal.
That's what it's all about, the medal.
It is.
Right, guys, I am going to wind this up and let you go. So that was the 7th episode of This Mumma Runs podcast, and with Jane and Ferg, who doesn't like to be called Andy and also thinks I'm Scottish. They are the race directors from Arc of Attrition by UTMB. If there's any fellow Arcers listening to this, I hope it has given you a little bit of insight into what we should be expecting on the Cornish coastpath come January. Of the 50 milers, the 100 milers, and the 25 milers. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. You can get it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. Do please head over to the Instagram page at This Mumma Runs podcast and like the page and give it a follow. And you can also get me on my own running page at thismummaruns_83 to see what I am up to in regards to my training towards the Arc of Attrition in January. Thanks for listening and thanks for joining in.